So I was talking with a homeowner recently, and a question came up that I'm really starting to hear a lot more often lately. It's like I've been in my home for the last several years, and my life is starting to change. And what I need to know is now the right time to move, or should I wait for the market to get better? Now that question deserves an honest answer, and that's exactly what this video is about. Now, it's important to understand that the Sarasota real estate market is not crashing, and it's not exactly recovering either. What actually is something that most homeowners aren't prepared for, and the gap between being prepared and unprepared, it is costing home sellers literally tens of thousands of dollars in the market right now. Now, if you stick with me over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you straight talk that most people in this market that are not getting right now. Now, before I answer the question, I need to show you something because the honest answer depends entirely on what part of the market your home is actually in. Right now here in Sarasota, there are two completely different markets happening at the same time. And this is probably why you're hearing different stories about what's happening depending on who you talk to. The first half of the market is driven primarily by cash. Wealthy buyers, people who don't need a mortgage. Nearly half of all single-family homes in Sarasota County right now, close to 47%, are straight cash transactions. That is a huge number for cash transactions. Luxury properties, high-end homes, the market moves on its own terms and is largely protected from everything that has happened with interest rates and the broader economy. And when someone tells you the market is fine, they're probably talking about this part of the market. The second market, and this is where most homeowners in the Greater Sarasota area actually live, homes under roughly that $800,000 price point. The market is directly tied to mortgage rates, inflation, and what a real buyer can afford to pay each month. And when someone tells you the market is struggling a little bit, they're talking about this part of the market. And for that homeowner that I mentioned, and probably most of the people watching right now, the second market is one that actually really matters. And that's the one I'm going to focus on today. Now, to understand what I'm about to tell you, what it means from a homeowner's decision, you need to have a quick, honest picture of how the market got to where it is today.
All right, so how in the world did we even get here? To figure out what's really going on with your home's equity, we need to take a quick, honest look at the last few years. Think back to 2020. It feels like a lifetime ago, right? Well, the median sale price for a home here was about $325,000. Then, boom, the world changed, rates hit rock bottom, and everyone wanted to move to Florida. By the peak in 2022, that same median home price had soared to $505,000. That's a 55% jump in 2 years. But here's the straight talk. That was never going to last. Today, we've settled back down to about $435,000, which is about 17.5% off that crazy peak. And you can see it right here on this chart. That spike? Man, that was a wild ride. It was like a perfect storm of factors that, let's be honest, just don't exist anymore. We're in a much more balanced market now.
So what does all this mean for you and the equity in your home? Well, it really just boils down to one simple thing. When did you buy? If you bought 5 or more years ago, you're probably sitting on a really nice gain. But if you bought closer to that peak, the picture is a little different, isn't it?
Okay, now we're getting to the part that almost nobody is talking about, but it's maybe the single biggest reason why the market for most homes feels so different today. It has everything to do with who is, and more importantly, who isn't moving to Florida anymore. During that pandemic boom, Florida was the place to be. In 2022 alone, we had a net migration of over 310,000 people. These were buyers with a ton of cash from selling homes up north, and they just poured gasoline on our market fire. But now, look at 2025. That number, it's dropped to just 22,500. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. That is a 93% decline. The giant wave of buyers didn't just shrink, it pretty much evaporated. And this right here is the aha moment that explains everything about the pressure on today's market.
The buyers here today, they're not the same buyers in 2022. They're more cautious, they're more deliberate. They know what things are worth, and they're not overpaying in today's market. And on top of that, inflation hasn't been solved. Energy costs, everyday expenses, real uncertainty in the broader economy. Mortgage rates are still sitting in that mid 6% range, And my honest read is this, that home values that we're seeing right now under that $800,000 price market reflect values for a buyer for a mortgage rate below 5%. And that buyer doesn't exist today. And I don't see any strong evidence that changes anytime soon. Now, for that homeowner I mentioned, this is the environment that they're making their decision in. Not 2022, but today. Now, here's the number that I think every homeowner needs to understand in the market today.
It brings us to what I believe is the single most important number that every homeowner in Sarasota needs to understand right now. It's this critical gap between what sellers think their home is worth and what buyers are actually willing to pay. First, let's look at what sellers are thinking. In March, the median asking price for homes on the market was $495,000. This is the number a lot of sellers have anchored in their minds. It's where they feel the market should be. Okay, but what about reality? What are buyers actually doing? Well, the median asking price of the homes that buyers actually put under contract was $429,000. That difference, that's the whole story right there. You see that? That is a gap of about $66,000, a 13% difference between seller hopes and buyer reality. So the real question is, what does that gap mean for you?
And here's the really crucial part. This isn't a negotiating problem. It's not about getting lowball offers and having to fight it out. No, it's happening way before that. Buyers are seeing homes priced at that $495 number, and they're just scrolling right past them, choosing the ones that are priced correctly from day one. Now, I know that might all sound a little discouraging, but it's really not, I promise. It just means the old playbook from 2022 is out the window. Success is 100% possible in this market, but you have to know the new path forward.
And look, people are succeeding. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. 977 families successfully bought and sold single-family homes right here in Greater Sarasota in March alone. Buyers are out there, they're active, and they are making moves every single day.
So what's their secret? What did those 977 successful sellers do differently? Well, it comes down to a really clear strategy. First, they priced their home for today's market, not the fantasy market of 2022. Second, they used real, hyperlocal data, what's happening on their street, not some generic online estimate. And third, and this is so important, they positioned their home to be the obvious choice. It was presented perfectly and marketed aggressively to find that right buyer.
So let's circle all the way back to that first question. Should I just wait for the market to get better? Well, waiting only makes sense if you think things are going to improve for you as a seller. And when I look at the mortgage rates, inflation, and that vanished wave of buyers, honestly, the data just doesn't point in that direction, at least not anytime soon. The bottom line is this. We know buyers are out there buying homes. Nearly 1,000 of them did it last month. They are ready to go. So the only question left, the one you really need to ask yourself, is this. Is your home positioned to be the one they choose?
When I ask you to consider this, if selling is something that's on your mind, don't let the market make the decision for you by continuing to erode your equity that you have worked years to build. Get an honest picture of where your home actually stands today, not what you're hoping that it's worth, not what a national website says that it's worth, but what buyers in your specific neighborhood are actually paying right now. That's the conversation that I'm here to have. No pressure, no obligation, just an honest conversation about your specific situation. Look, 977 homes sold last month in Sarasota last month. The buyers were out there. The question is whether your home is positioned to be chosen by one of them. Again, I'm Ed Grabowski, your local broker here in the Sarasota area. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to helping you have a better real estate experience. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.